Hello everyone, my name is Nirmal Thevaratantri. I work as a Azure specialist, part of our Advanced Networking Global Black Belt team. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to set up monitoring for your virtual WAN environment. To get things started, I'm going to navigate to Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor has a component for network insights, and under network insights, you will find a section for a virtual WAN. So in this virtual WAN section, we are displaying all of the different virtual WAN resources that you have in your environment. It will also list down different related services such as the Azure Firewall, ExpressRoute, and VPN connections. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the third resource that I have in my environment. And the first place to get started to look at monitoring would be this topology view. This topology view gives you the overview of your existing virtual WAN environment. It would show you how many virtual WAN resources you have, how many hubs that you have deployed, and then for each hub, how many VNet connections you have, different gateways that you've deployed. All of these resources are visible part of your topology view. This also gives me an indication at a first glance to see if there are any known issues. Example here, this is showing that there is an issue with my ExpressRoute circuit. So I can select this resource and I can go into additional details to find more. This would also show me connectivity that I have for different VPN sites that I've connected, and also at the same time it will show if these connections are healthy. Same goes for my VNets. If I have multiple VNets connected, this would also show me different VNets that I have in my environment connected to virtual WAN. On the right hand side, we also have a summary tab. This is going to show me how many virtual hubs I have. Also start showing me bandwidth information if I have different gateways enabled. In my environment, I have a site-to-site VPN, so that's this VPN gateway. And then I also have an ExpressRoute VPN gateway, which is visible here in the monitoring tab. Now, what we will do as a next step is we would go into the virtual WAN resource, and then let's have a look at how we can configure monitoring and alerts utilizing the built-in metrics that's available a part of virtual WAN. So when we navigate to virtual WAN, we can select the hub that we will be working on, and then under each hub, we would be able to select different connectivity options. I will first get started with the VPN connectivity. And what we would be able to see in here is we would be able to look at the gateway specific metrics. And also we have an option to configure logs where you can send log information to log analytics. So if I click on metrics, what it would do is it would give me built-in metrics that are part of Azure Monitor. And here the namespace is set to VPN gateways. And then I can select the metric that I want to monitor. So there are a couple of items that we can look at monitoring. When we talk about network monitoring, we can focus on performance. So you monitor for the capacity of the network, the bandwidth that's available. Also, we can monitor for availability of the network. So we would be raising an alert if the gateway isn't available or if there's no connectivity from a branch to one of my VMs inside the VNet. So to get things started, I'm going to first look at the gateway bandwidth. So this is an aggregate value that we have for both the gateway instances and then report up to this chart. I'm going to change this to max to look at the maximum utilization of these gateways. So I can see that this is utilizing around 176 Mbps. And if I want to zoom in, I can select a specific area and then I can go into getting more details. Also, if I need to, I can change the different chart options that I have. So I can select an area chart. And then if I also need to go a bit further, I can go in and add splitting, and then I can say I need to split this information by different instances. Where the gateway is deployed, we have instance 0 and instance 1. So this would give you visibility across the two instances to find out how much bandwidth that's been consumed. Similar to the gateway bandwidth, we can also go in and look at specific tunnels. So here I can change the metric from bandwidth to tunnel, and then this would give me the tunnel bandwidth again broken down into different instances. Given this is a VPN tunnel, we can also split by different options. So if I click on the split values, I would have other options such as the name of the connection, so I can have a look at different branches that I have connected through links. And then I can also inspect by remote IP as well. So if I recognize the remote IP of a specific branch, I can also look at what is the utilization of a particular branch. We have also other things that we can inspect. So example, you've looked at the bandwidth of the gateways, you looked at the tunnels. You can also look at the packets per second that gets processed by the gateways as well. Again, you have the exact same option as before. You can break this down by connection, instance, or remote IP. So one question that gets raised is, how do I know what is the packets per second that's allowed per tunnel? For this, I'm going to switch my tab and navigate to our FAQ page. So if I move on to the Virtual WAN FAQ page, you will see here we have added content to explain how the packets per second should be calculated per gateway instance. Moving back to my Azure Metrics UI. So in this portal, now we've looked at the different metrics that we can look at. We've looked at the gateway bandwidth, we've looked at the tunnel bandwidth, we look at packets per second. So the next step is really to look at how do we now set up alerts. So when we hit a specific threshold, I need an alert to be raised, either by email, or I can integrate to a different alerting system, but I need to make sure that when a specific, either the entire tunnels are maxed out or we are using entire bandwidth available on a gateway, I need to be notified so that I can go in and investigate what is causing this bottleneck for my users. So here I'm going to select gateway bandwidth. And then what I will do is I'm going to select that aggregation to be max. So I want to know when it's hitting the max limit of the gateway. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to select the alert rule. So when you click on new alert rule, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the option to configure a condition. So here I'm going to select the condition name, which will open up this view for me to go in and apply what is the condition that I want this alert to be triggered on. So here I'm also going to look at the maximum value. So the aggregation is set to maximum, and then I'm looking to set a threshold value. Also, I can set what is that evaluation granularity needs to be, for how long I need to have my aggregation. So I can select it could be 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. So depending on what you set here, it'll actually change the view that you are seeing here in the graph. I'm going to set my granularity to be 5 minutes. And then we also have the frequency of the evaluation. Do you want it to be 1 minute? Do you want it to be 5 minutes? How long do you want the behavior to be observed before the alert gets raised? So when we select and when we want to set the threshold, one of the things that happens is when you add a value to a threshold, we would dynamically provide suggestions as to when you can, or what the threshold should look like. And we've created this user interface to be user-friendly, so you can slide this option to go in and select the value that you want to set. So you could set this to be 130 or 128 Mbps. So when it hits the 130 mark, that's when the alert would get raised. Or I can move this all the way up, and that would set the amount to be at the maximum level, so at 167. So if we do cross this threshold, that would fire up an alert in the environment. And then hit done. So this would then change to green, which means that we've set the required parameters and required values for the alert to be created. The next thing that needs to happen is you need to have an alert action group created. So here I will create a new action group. So part of this is you would provide the resource group, you will provide the action group name. So I'm just going to say this is for my network monitor alerts. And then here you will be providing an action group type and the notification type. So here I can email specific roles. So I can say I want to go in and email all of the owners or the contributors part of this subscription, or I can inform all of the monitoring contributors who are assigned to that specific role group. So that can be added instead of specifying a specific address. So in my example, I'm going to have a specific address created. So I will have a email address added in here. And then if I need to, I can add SMS, or if I'm using the Azure mobile app, I can also have notifications delivered to the mobile app as well. I'm just going to add a dummy email address in here. So when you go next, what happens is it'll ask you what's the action that needs to be triggered. So outside of these alerts, what you can also do is you can trigger an automation runbook if you want to, or you can create integration to different other systems that you have in the environment. So this gives you a lot of flexibility to go in and add additional components in the environment to go in and notify ITSM systems or other systems that needs to be notified part of this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reuse an existing group that I had created. So this group uses email as a notification. And then once that's selected, I'm going to hit next. And then here we will be selecting what is the severity of this particular incident. So I'm going to say this is a warning. And I'm also going to specify what is the alert rule name going to be. You can provide an alert description as well. And then what you do is you can go in and select whether you want these events to be automatically resolved, which means that if you have a peak, we evaluate it for 5 minutes, we go in and raise the alert. But then if there's no more pressure or load on the specific gateway and the traffic drops down, the alert would be automatically resolved if you do select this. So these options are selected by default. So here I'm just going to go hit create. It's going to give me a summary. And then when I hit create, this is going to now go ahead and create the alert. So I'll let this run and then show a couple of examples when these alerts get triggered. So if I look at my environment, if I go to metrics, and if I look at the gateway utilization, so in this environment, I have a gateway with one scale unit. So the maximum capacity is 500 Mbps into 2. So here, if I look at my gateway metrics, we can see that it is utilizing the maximum capacity available on this gateway. So it's maxing out at this peak. So which would mean that it would go in and trigger an alert. So what does it look like when the alerts get triggered? So let me show a quick view onto what it looks like. So this is a sample alert that got raised. So here what it'll do is it'll look at the metric name. It'll look at the time aggregation, and it'll tell me over 5 minutes we've crossed this threshold of 126 Mbps, which is the reason why the alert was triggered. I can go in and view this alert inside the Azure portal as well. And then because I have set these alerts to be automatically resolved, if the traffic doesn't have any further utilization of the tunnel, the alert would automatically set to be resolved. So how do we monitor this? If I again move back to Azure Monitor, and then if I go to the alerts section, in the alerts section, this would give me a summary on what are the total number of alerts that's been triggered. And I can also click on these categories to see what are the other alerts that gets triggered a part of this configuration that I have done. So that's a quick overview of the different options that we have inside Azure Monitor for VPN gateways. Next, I want to walk you through the ExpressRoute gateway. Again, very similar to how we configured for VPN gateway, and you will find similar options available for the ExpressRoute gateway as well. So this is the ExpressRoute gateway view. If I go to metrics, I would then get navigated to the Azure Monitor metrics page, and here I can apply similar rules based on either traffic coming in, or I can add the same metric again, and then I can say I want to monitor traffic going out. So this is giving me information around bytes in and bytes out using my ExpressRoute gateway. Similar to before, I can change this chart and I can get a bit more granularity around what are the different aspects that I want to monitor. And also what I can do is I can create a dashboard utilizing these different metrics view. So how do I do it? We can go in and say save to a dashboard, pin to a dashboard, and then this would give you the option to either create a new dashboard or you can utilize an existing dashboard. So in this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new dashboard, and the dashboard can be either a private dashboard, or this dashboard can be a shared dashboard as well. So I'm just going to create a private dashboard. If I do create a shared dashboard, I can share this to a resource group, which means that based on the access for that resource group, I can then provide specific permissions to those who should be looking at this dashboard. If I do put it to the default resource group, that would mean that anyone having access to the resource group would be able to access this dashboard and view data that's available part of this dashboard. So if I create pin, what would happen is that this would now take this graph and then it would go in and pin to this new dashboard that I have just created. So if I go back to dashboard, and this is the one that I've created using exact same steps. And now if I switch this to monitoring dashboard 2, you will notice that the ExpressRoute bytes in and bytes out is available in here as a new graph that's available, which I just created. We can change things like auto refresh on. What that would mean is it would give me the dashboard will automatically refresh, and I can say, yep, show me information for last 30 seconds. So that would then start adding information based on the different filters that I have created here in this dashboard. So it's validated in the config. Let's do a quick refresh. So once we refresh this, we can add other aspects to the dashboard as well. So it's heavily customizable. You can add markdown content. You can add different other resources. So here we can see that we've now pinned this information based on the ExpressRoute gateway part of Virtual WAN. Switching back to my Virtual WAN environment, I'm also going to show you that you have same options available within the point-to-site gateway as well. So if I use the hub that I've created for point-to-site, if I go to the use of VPN section, what you would find is that it does have a very similar metrics option, and you can then select the different metrics that you would want to monitor, and then you can raise alerts very similar to how we've configured before, and based on that you will be able to configure alerts to different either notification groups or integration to Azure Automation or a third-party ITSM tool. So at a nutshell, that is how you configure alerts based on your metrics, and also how you will be able to configure dashboards very similar to what I have created here, getting data from different gateways, and then really being able to monitor point in time what's happening across my network, not just on the VPN gateway, but I can take a specific timestamp and then really look at what's happening across multiple different gateways in a single view. Next item that I want to quickly cover is that we also have another capability called connection monitor. So it's well and good for us to monitor the utilization of these gateways to look at what is the bandwidth usage per tunnel, what is the usage of the gateways, what is the usage of the instance. But that's really not giving us the full picture of the network to see if the users or the VMs that we are hosting are able to communicate with on-premises or with other destinations. So that is where we have a solution called connectivity connection monitor. So that is part of Network Watcher. So if I move to the Network Watcher resource, we have the option to configure connection monitor. So here what I have done is I've created one called on-premises monitoring. And the way how this works is the Network Watcher agent gets deployed to one of the VMs inside the VNet. And this VM can then be used to either make an ICMP request to an IP address on premises, or you can have TCP request going to an application on premises. This would then tell you if there are any failures in the network. Also at the same time, it will do round-trip latency monitoring as well. So these are good indications to find out the health of your network. Again, very similar to what we were seeing before. If there's a failure, this would go in and trigger an alert. So if the network has any outages, you would then be able to find out utilizing this tool. So how do you configure this? It's fairly easy to do it. So let me close this and say create new. And here the first step is to find the region where you have your resources deployed. So I've deployed my resources to ECUS2 region. And then what you need to do is you need to provide a name. So I'm going to say net monitor 2 and then hit next. So in this view, we will be creating our test groups. So it's going to say on-premises monitoring, and you will provide a source and a destination. So here I'm going to use my VM as the source. So I'm just going to expand and find the VM that I have deployed here. So I'm going to select this VM, and this VM has two interfaces. So I'm going to say select the private interface. That is the interface that I need to do the testing for my on-premises, which is going to use the ExpressRoute and then send traffic to my on-premises environment. And then we need to select the test configuration. So here I'm just going to say add a test. And then I can do a variety of tests based on what is the endpoint on premises. So for this example, I'm going to do an ICMP test. And then I can say a configuration name. So this is a ping test. And then going to add that configuration. So that's going to do an ICMP test every 30 seconds and then report back if it's a success or a failure. So in terms of destination, this could be an Azure VM if you are doing VNet to VNet traffic validation. This could be an Azure VM. But in my case, this is going to be an external address or an external endpoint. We've also listed multiple endpoints in here for if you want to do any test against Office 365 or other endpoints, that's available here out of the box. But in my case, I'm just going to use my on-premises environment. So I'm just going to add the IP address of my on-premises device. And then I'm going to select that as the endpoint that I want to monitor. So I've really done by selecting the source, I've selected my destination, and then the test or what kind of test that I should be performing. So that's all that's needed. And here I can say add test group. So the test group is added. And the next step, very similar to what we looked at with the gateway metrics, we can also create an alert. So this would then help trigger any alerts if the connection is not working. So similar to before, I'm going to select the action group that I've created, and then when I hit done, that would provide the information that it needs to go in and create the resource and the alert. So this gives me a summary page. It shows that This is the on-premises monitoring. What is the source? It shows the source VM. It's going to show me the destination, and then it's also going to show me what is the test that I'm going to perform, and the name that I had given for this particular test. So when I hit create, what is this going to do is it's going to go ahead and create the network connection monitor. So while that's getting created, what I will do is I'll just move on to the one that I had created before, and then show a few other information that's also available part of this. So when I go to my test configuration, it's actually going to show me the different tests that it's running. Also, it's going to give me information whether there's any test that's failed, given the time range and the specification. So here, when I go into the different tests that I've created, another important capability that's available part of this is this topology view. So this is really going to show me the end-to-end traffic flow from the virtual machine going to my destination, and I can also show the backward path. So it will show me how the traffic is flowing. It's going to say all hops, and then I can see the gateway instance here. I can see the VMs talking to the gateway. The gateway is using the ExpressRoute circuit and then going back on premises. So I can go into any of these resources, and then I can find out what's going on. If there's any failure, I can quickly drill down and zoom into where the failure is and be able to identify what's going on. On the right hand side, we can see if there are any checks that's failed, and then I can also see the latency variance for this VM to talk to on premises. So that concludes my demonstration for network monitoring. So what we really looked at how do we utilize the built-in Azure monitor to monitor your virtual WAN environment, monitor VPN gateway, monitor the ExpressRoute gateway, and the point-to-site gateway. We've looked at how do we create alerts. Also, we've looked at how do we go in and create a dashboard very similar to what I have here. And then we've also looked at how do we use a connection monitor and to make sure that the network connectivity is available for our users and services hosted on our platform. So with that, I also want to share the link for all of the Azure Monitor documentation relating to virtual WAN. So I'll add this to the description of the video. If you look at this article and the link, this will give you information on how to configure Azure Monitor, and also it will show you all of the different metrics that's available. What does it mean? The description of each of the metrics that's available across all of the different gateways that we can go and monitor a part of this service. With that, I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you all.